So let's say you are driving down the road and you're speeding, and you know you're speeding, and you end up getting pulled over by the police, and they stop you and they ask for all of your documents. You provide your driver's license, your registration, your insurance, all to the police officer. They run your information, everything looks good, you don't have any warrants, and they issue you a citation. Now, as the officer is returning your documents to you and providing you with your copy of the citation, the officer looks into your vehicle and notices that you have an unusual number of air fresheners in your car. And the officer, thinking that you are hiding the smell of some type of illegal substance or contraband, asks you if he could search your car. And you, knowing your rights, you say no, that you're refusing the search. And the officer says, okay, hang tight. I'm going to grab the drug dog and I'm going to get the canine over to do a sniff of your vehicle. So you sit in your vehicle, you wait for the canine officer and the canine to arrive. They arrive, the dog does a sniff of your vehicle and alerts the canine officer that there is contraband in your vehicle. They do a search of your car and unfortunately they find drugs and they take you in. And so the question in this situation really becomes, can the police get a drug dog or a canine dog to do a sniff of your vehicle after you have told them that you are refusing consent to search your car? So I am criminal defense attorney Hannah Akintoye, and if you have ever been worried about whether or not the police will call the canine dog over to search you if you refuse consent to search, trust me, you are not the only one who worries about this issue. Now, what I can tell you is that there is some good news. The scenario and the situation that I just gave you is actually a real life situation that was debated so much that it was argued before the United States Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court determined that the police, if they want to bring a drug dog or a canine dog, cannot detain you longer than is necessary to issue a citation or a traffic ticket. So let me rewind and talk to you a little bit more about your rights. So what that means is that when you're being pulled over by the police for a traffic violation, it is clear that you're being detained at that point. And so what the police can do is they can issue you a traffic violation or a ticket. But what they cannot do is have no reason to detain you longer than that. So it's not enough for the police to have a hunch or a feeling that you are involved in criminal activity. They need to be able to articulate reasons for why they believe you are involved in criminal activity. And that's what reasonable suspicion is. So for instance, let's say the officer was going back to the vehicle and they saw a bag of drugs in the cup holder. Then at that point, they can go ahead and search that car, or they can go ahead and proceed forward as they wish. According to the law, of course, but they can't just say, oh, well, you have air fresheners, or you're doing things that correlate to other individuals who are involved in criminal activity. And so therefore, the likelihood that you are involved in criminal activity is the same. It doesn't work like that. There has to be specifications for why they believe you specifically are involved in some type of crime. So what I can tell you is that the courts are very serious about these Fourth Amendment violations. And so even if they find that there are clearly drugs or there is clearly contraband in the vehicle, if the police violate your constitutional rights, they have to suppress, or they have to disallow the prosecution from admitting that tainted evidence and that illegally obtained evidence in the trial in your case. And I'll give you an example about this. I actually had a case where I argued this same Supreme Court decision. And by the way, this is Rodriguez versus United States, in case you want to just check it out yourself. This was a situation where I had a client who was in a car that was pulled over for a traffic violation. I think the driver of the vehicle may not have used their turn signal or something of that nature. My client was actually the passenger in the vehicle. And I think my client may have been held up for maybe about an hour while the police were fishing around and asking questions about drug activity, when the initial traffic stop had nothing to do with drug activity. It was supposed to be for a traffic violation. And so my client was pulled out of the vehicle asked all these questions, and then ultimately the police did find drugs on her, and they charged her with a drug possession charge. So with the situation with my client, which is oftentimes the case, it's clear that she had a drug problem, and it was a very humbling experience for her to basically understand that she probably needed to get help. But that being besides the point, the issue at the trial was whether or not the police violated my client's constitutional rights in order to determine that there was some drugs on her. And the court agreed with my argument that the police held her up longer than was reasonably necessary to issue the driver a traffic violation or traffic ticket. And so because they violated her constitutional rights, the prosecution could not use the drugs that they had in evidence against her at the trial in the case. So obviously no drugs, no case, and essentially the case went away. It was dismissed. So it's really important to remember what your constitutional rights are before you consent to any search. I know that sometimes it can be very frustrating to enforce your rights, but these are your rights for a reason, and you have the freedom and liberty to use them and to assert your rights at any point in time if you want to. So I hope that information is helpful to you. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me here and comment below or on my website, mydclaw.com, and I'm always happy to chat with you further and answer any questions that you have. Stay safe, and I will talk to you soon.